All right, let's chat. So I brought up yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I don't know. Days kind of blend together after a while once you get to be however old I am. But um, brought up the whole Marty Sampson, John Cooper thing. And basically, Marty Sampson puts this long Instagram thing up. And then the ensuing responses to that, one of the person who responded to it was a guy named John Cooper, frontman of Skillet. He goes, boom, hey, addressing like no one in particular, but we all know who he was talking to, saying we shouldn't be putting these people up onto a pedestal, maybe a little hypocritical, but okay. That we should not be looking at them as culture shapers or as much as we do, that we need to get back to the ground level of seeing the gospel and the truth as what it's supposed to be. Like, we need to drool just into it like that. And so then Marty Sampson responds with a, how dare you? This is my personal page. You don't even know me. I don't even know you. We've never even met. How dare you think that you have this personal window into my life, into what it's like, and blah, 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 blah. And so that, like, if like, I can say what I want, and I wish that people wouldn't think that they have this personal window into my life so that they think that they can comment about the stuff that I'm going through. Right? So you have three, this is my thing about that. Once you put something onto the internet, it's not your business anymore. There's stuff that float around, kind of like memes of, if you post pictures of your dog, just letting you know that it's our dog, not just your dog, and I want to know how it's doing, which is in humor, but it's true of that when you see, like, the people, at least, that are in the social media spheres, like, you see their stuff on a regular basis. All of a sudden, somebody disappears. They're like, well, did they delete? Obviously, it's kind of at the end of the phase where people would be, I'm taking a sabbatical, or I'm taking a Sabbath, or I'm taking a rest from social media. So if you don't see me post for a month, or I'm going to fast social media for the month of fill in the blank. So that stuff would happen. But I want to put some emphasis on the idea that it is social media, that is media that is supposed to be social. So that if you walked in, like, we all have favorite places we like to go. Here in the town that I live in, that doesn't happen because there's only one coffee shop and it's kind of lame. But you live anywhere, like where we used to live in California, there was 4 Starbuckses and then a Main Street kind of small coffee shop there. And if you went in on a regular basis, you would see the same people over and over again. There was one actually down the street from the church that I went to, that the community caught the idea of, if you don't like Christian people, you don't like hearing people that are Christian talk, don't go to that one, because that's where all the staff members from the church that I went to, they would go down there, they would have meetings with people, they would just run into people, they'd like, hey, I need to get my caffeine fixed, do you want anything? They would run into stuff. And so it was not a safe place, I guess, if you want to be left alone from a secular worldview. On the other hand, the one that's down on Main Street was the opposite of that. This is where all the, like, secularists would meet on a regular basis. They would schedule their meetings there, and so you could, on the one hand, hear somebody having a conversation with someone else about their weekly Wicca meeting, whatever coven meeting, or people reading up on or researching, like, spell crystals and things, or the diametric opposite. And so that was the thing, like, but you would never hear someone just walk into either one of those spaces and be like, I'm struggling with my faith in fill in the blank, whether that's struggling in their faith of, I don't know, Wicca, or struggling in their faith. The person would just not walk into that social space and do that. And yet we feel this artificial safety or security in just, boom, I'm struggling with my security, which is what I kind of brought up in this other video about this, is why is he not going to his personal confidants? dealing with this with his wife, dealing with this with his pastor, with his worship pastor, with his adult, like men's ministry leaders, or with other Christian influencers that are kind of on that same level. So like, why is he not going in a personal way to these people rather than just boom, public forum post? Like, why? I've never fathomed, like, here's all my cards on the table, guys, struggling with my faith. That doesn't make sense to me, because you would only do that on social media. And I've heard people refer to it, it's like the pastor that finally does the sermon where, I have sinned, like Jimmy Swaggart all those years ago. Well, the thing is, he got caught and then copped to it. Or that it's like a public, like a PR presentation where like Tiger Woods kind of does his thing about him cheating on his wife and the car accident and the drugs and all that stuff that he was into. And no, it's not like that, because those are specific, contextually pointed circumstances. And honestly, you shouldn't be doing those kind of things anyway. But no, like, you wouldn't just walk into a social sphere and just broadcast your news. That's absurd. And yet, on social media, where it's not just a small little collected group of coffee shop patrons or like a sidewalk cafe patrons, of the 24 that might be in there and their employees, but millions, perhaps, like hundreds of thousands of people are going to see this. And obviously, when you put it out there, you put that on the public forum, 100,000 people see it, hundreds of thousands of people are going to have opinions and they're going to respond. Not even getting to where people start sharing it to people that they know, not even getting to like the publications that are going to start opining about it, right? And so in some ways, it's kind of like something that comes up a lot is the Instagram models is that they'll take like a huge like downward angle cleavage shot or the beachfront bikini selfies and stuff, and they'll put that up on the internet, which never goes away. And then they're shocked when someone, like, obviously there's the "oh, looking fine girl" responses, but then you also have the just garbage dudes that are going to come on there, and they're going to say what garbage dudes say to it. And as if these people who post these things up there are like, well, I want this kind of response, but I don't want this kind. And so people just need to know themselves that they're not supposed to respond to me that way. Like, if I was, like, continuing with our analogy, if I was to just do that blanket, like, hey everyone, I'm struggling with my faith in Starbucks on the corner of fill in the blank in wherever town, everyone's going to be upset. Like, they're not going to like, wow, this is so brave. No one's going to think that. They're going to be annoyed that I'm interrupting what they're trying to do. So negative response off the bat. And then second thing is, some people are going to be like, wow, that was courageous, I guess. Like, hey, come sit down here. I'll teach you about agnosticism or whatever. Most people are going to have a negative response to it, though. Most people. And so if you put something onto the internet, you will get what you get. And you need to just, you don't get the right to then, this is my private confession, this is my personal feelings, how dare you try to respond to it, how dare you have an opinion about my personal faith story and stuff. Like, you don't have that right anymore once you've put it out there. Once it's out there, it's out there. You have to be willing to accept whatever you're gonna get. And if you're not willing to deal with that stuff, like, there's a lot of athletes, there's a lot of professional actors and actresses who, even though they have immense talent, skill, ability, they don't have that mental readiness to take both the wins and the losses. So they never make it to those elite levels because their psyche can't stand the pressure. when they're in that moment of being able to make that big play, they purposefully don't get open for the ball. Like they hide. And they're never in that position of Jordan with his fadeaway jumpers or buzzer beaters. They're never in that position, not because they don't want to be there necessarily, but because they don't want to be there. Like, it's not that they don't imagine how great and how awesome it would be to make that shot. Maybe even they've trained and have done the practice in order to do so, but because they can't stand the fear of what if I don't make it? So they never get there. And then honestly, on the one hand, I have respect for them because they know that they don't have that. And so they don't put themselves in the position. And I think in a lot of ways that people on social media can learn a lot from that mentality of that, listen, if you don't got it, you don't got it. If you don't have the ability to take that kind of pressure, or you don't have the ability to take that kind of criticism from strangers, then don't open yourself up to the criticism of strangers. And that would, like, well, we're shaming them. Like, people need to be open. Yes, you need to be open in an intimate context with people that you trust, that are actually going to keep your secrets for you, that are actually going to work with you and wrestle with you and hold you accountable. Yes, you do in those tight circles, but not in I'm going to put this up on Instagram. No, that's absurd. And quite simply, there's something broken in our society that thinks that throwing something up there onto Facebook or onto Instagram or onto Snapchat is equivalent to making a grand stand about something. It's not. And not only is it not a grand stand, like platform about something, but it's also it's incredibly cowardly, is what I would say. Is that you're keeping this sheen. You're getting a platform and then never opening the curtain. Because, quite frankly, if you don't want to go out there, then you don't have to go out there. But if you are meeting with somebody on a regular basis, week to week, and they know your stuff, and you know their stuff, and all of a sudden you start seeing somebody get squirrely, you can go boom into that space and be like, listen, I love you. We're going to work on this together. You're not going to get away that easy. On social media, a person can just delete the post like they did with Instagram. A person can just delete their profile in social out there and forget it ever occurred. They can disappear from the limelight for a little while, and all of a sudden, boom, they come back with like a redemption story. Did they really change? Has any true, genuine effect occurred? I don't know. Because I'm on the other side of that screen. I don't know anything about Marty Sampson. I don't know anything about John Cooper. I don't know anything about their intimate lives, except like the YouTube interviews, seeing them on stage. I'm not holding them accountable. No one is. As far as I can tell, no one on Instagram is keeping these people on the straight and narrow. And the illusion that a person can is stupid. Like, the fact that you think that you can comment on somebody's thing and have it change their worldview is ridiculous. But the idea that you can put something on social media thinking that you're not going to get negative things is equally just as ridiculous. So, I've rambled about this long enough. I think this is my takeaway for you. Social media is not the place for your intimate confessions. Snapchat, even though it's going to disappear after 10 seconds or whatever, like, that's not the place for your intimate, heartfelt struggles. It's just not. Don't put them there because of the fact that people don't want to see that stuff on there anyways. They imagine that they do, but people don't want to see that kind of stuff. They go to social media for a distraction from how bad their life is. That's why they're so critical. That's why they're so whatever it is because if I am belligerent towards someone else, then I can forget about my stuff. So, yeah, don't put stuff like that out there on the internet. Just don't do it. It's not time and a place. Like, you wouldn't call somebody out for how terrible they were at their funeral. And as far as I know, Shrek is the only instance, or like cinema is the only instance when somebody has actually objected at that point in a marriage ceremony, a wedding. That doesn't happen. People just hold their peace, and then they undercut you as a mother-in-law or whatever. Like, there's a far more influence in the intimate. There's far more effect in the intimate. And so if you have a confession you need to make, that's where it needs to go. And if you don't have an intimate circle like that, which it's difficult to get relationships that way, then you need to build relationships first through gradual deepening confessions with that intimate circle. So, I don't know. I think I've probably talked about this too much anyway. So, you got thoughts? I love thoughts. Peace.